Hello, and welcome to the DM's Book Club, a podcast where each episode we discuss a topic about Dungeons & Dragons and how we can fit it into our role-playing campaigns.
Hey.
This week,
Hey.
first time.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That wasn't bad. It was close, I guess.
That was very close. Good job.
As ever, I am joined by our leader, our empress, our magister, queen, Fiona.
That's me. Hello, everyone.
Coming to us from across the Atlantic as we speak.
Yes, I just showed Hamilton what's outside my will-be office window, and it is pure snow. That's very exciting, but also terrifying. that just happened overnight, and
you're now aware of the extreme weathers you're going to be moving to in the Americas.
It was funny. My partner, when he picked me up from the airport, he was like, "You do have a coat," and I was like, "Yes, it's in my bag. Why would I wear it on the flight?" He goes, "Okay," and then obviously go outside. I'm like, "No, you idiot! Let me open my bag." And he's like, "No, you said it was in your bag."
I'm from up north. Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not. It's a different kind of north in the Midwest. But how are you, Hamilton? It's been a while since we've done a DM's book club together.
It has been. Yeah, I am good. I am excited to be back and unearthing some Arcana.
And obviously, we've just come back from MCM London, which you helped.
My gosh.
Yes, I know, and that I know it feels like ages ago, but actually, it wasn't too long ago.
And it was only 2 weeks. 2 weeks and a half ago. I can't remember. Time is a weird soup now. Yeah.
But that was so much fun because we got to meet some of our friends. You did Dragon's Duel on the main stage.
We did it in front of. You were there as well. You were on the stage.
I was also there. Yeah, it was great.
The backboard pass was there. It was surreal. It was great. It was really awesome. There was whoever was at the front, if they are listeners, I don't know, but they were very good.
Thank you for participating and us going, please, could we have a suggestion? And they were like, okay.
Yeah, okay, here's 20. And shouting up all the answers, which is great. That was the whole point of it.
It was beautiful. Yeah,
I so would like to do more of that again. Yeah, definitely.
Fingers crossed for next year. MCM
yes, exactly. Stuff, MCM and all of it. I'm just gonna be on to all of them. UK Games Expo, all of them. I'll be there. And it was lovely to see you again in person. Whilst we have met a few times now, a couple of them I hadn't met.
We got our first picture together.
We did get our first picture together after the number of times we've met and never gone, oh yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Whilst I'm prolific on Instagram, I always forget to take pictures with other people in. It's always me. Yes. I take pictures of myself, so that's fine.
That tracks.
It does track quite well, doesn't it? But Hamilton, you've already sneaked in a little bit. What are we talking about today? What is our topic of choice?
Well, we may not be them, but we are talking about expert classes.
Woo, woo, woo. Yeah. We like to think we're slight experts, but not quite.
No, not quite. We will probably come to the character origins at another time, but because we got a bit delayed, we've gone to the most recent one because it's forefront of our minds. I remember this from the old days at D&D, but I don't remember them ever calling them this in the 5e days.
No, I don't as well. So yes, just for context, in case you're like, what the hell are we talking about? So D&D 1 was announced, and we did cover that in one of our sort of first impressions, reactions videos or whatever we called it. And so now they're putting out playtest material, and yet, as you rightly said, we've got the character origins one, which was at the time a massive 18 pages, and we were like, whoa, we'll hang on to this. And then this one came out, the second one, expert classes, which is 37 pages, and we were like, whoa, okay, I guess we better get on this. Expert classes is referring to each member of the expert group of classes, which is in this one Bard, Ranger, and Rogue. We've always talked about them in sort of like groups of like, oh well, I guess if you want to be like a melee person or a spellcaster or the horrible term half-caster. I'm sure there is a better word, but that's the one that always comes up to mind when you're like, oh,
part caster.
Yes, exactly. Like you know, you're part casting at a certain level compared to full casters, etc. So that's how I've always referred to them.
Diet caster.
Oh, it's like I'm slimming. Only one spell slot for me today. The bulk of the second playtest material is these 3 classes. So each one of them has been revised with some new features and with a sample subclass as well. I wanted to just quickly put at the top is that they've done a little section on the first page like, what is ahead in one D&D playtest? And they're like, 48 subclasses, including the ones in this article. I was like, God, is there 48? I feel like there's billions at this point.
Particularly though, because you've got a few homebrew ones that I've used, and they just get added to the list of, they're probably part of it. But you think, I was thinking about rogues the other day, and we did the Rangers a couple of weeks ago, and we're like, even Rangers is like, oh my gosh, there's a lot.
So many. I guess it makes sense to always have more subclasses to be really specialized and stuff, because obviously now we're going into this age of really customizing everything, but it just feels like, just give us like, I don't know, 3 options.
Yeah, exactly. Just have a class and that's it. Just rogues, thieves, there you go. Done.
Yeah, exactly. But the other things to quickly look forward to are spells and new revised spells, including the new sort of spell list, which we'll come on to in another episode. The feats, which are now taking a bigger forefront, which I'm very excited about, because I'm always one that uses more feats. So the fact that we're sort of switching to like, you get, feats are the more important thing rather than scoreability improvement. I think that's a really interesting shift that they've done. New weapon options for other classes, whatever. I don't, a sword's a sword for me. One that I am excited about, though, is a new system for creating a home base for your characters. I don't know if there's any rules like that in the DM's guide or anything. I'm sure there is. As soon as I look now, I'm sure there's
got to be. But then the one that comes to mind is Matt Colville's, what's it called? Strongholds and Followers. Strongholds and Followers is the book that they did, which is all about like how to make a keep, how to make your own country. I think, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, anything like that. Like it's something that your players will have and like maybe customize and stuff like that, which I think is becoming more and more relevant in RPGs. So like the one I can instantly think of is Blades in the Dark. You have your own little thing that you upgrade after each session and stuff like that.
They have it in City of Mist. They had that additional idea that you could have a group thing which had actions and abilities and give you benefits and stuff like that as well in the same system of that, which was kind of interesting.
I can't remember what it was called, like a hideout or something like that. But
it was in the additional thing. I'm looking at my shelf and I don't have it printed. I only have it as a PDF, and I won't be able to find it. But yes, it was like hideout or headquarters or something like that. I don't know, something.
And then there's obviously new monsters, great. New and revised monsters, great. But then revised encounter building rules, which I definitely would like to look at in future, because we've definitely covered 2 versions of it so far. And again, it's something for me that if I want to get better as a DM, I definitely would like to know how they plan to do it. And like if there is another way, that's, I guess, moving away from the XP challenge rating, stuff like that, that'll be interesting as well. So yeah,
I'm interested to understand what they mean by revisement, because they did a really good revision to monsters, particularly with the spell casting very recently, which was such a positive. And then I wonder if that relates and it's about CR rating and they're going to get rid of CR rating.
It might be CR rating. It might be about spellcasting though as well, like you said. Because I think that spellcasting, the way they've just gone it, as instead of having like slots for monsters, it's just like, you get this once per day, you get this 3 times per day. I think because I seem to remember when you were building encounters or with making homebrew monsters with spells, it was a little bit of a faff.
Yeah.
And certainly ones where I was like, all my monsters don't have magic, I've decided.
Well, I just used to, it's a lich, I'll copy that. It's something else, I'll copy whatever that is, and I'll use that as a basis, and I'll just copy their list. Because I think CR rating, because it's something we're going to come on to. I think they've dulled it down slightly.
Oh, yeah.
And I can imagine that getting rid of things, it feels like that's what D&D's doing. It's trying to be more streamlined, trying to be more accessible. And I think things like CR rating feels like the THACO. It's going to be like when we say THACO and people go, what's that mean? And we're going to hit against AC 0, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this would be the same thing. It'll be, what's the CR rating? Oh, you won't remember the days of 5e where we had CR rating. An XP, it will be just, you just have like monster level 1, level 2, which relates directly to, instead of it being like a quarter, you add times by 4 and divide by 4 to then get the CR rating. It's like, if you're a level 1 party of 4 to 5, here's a level 1 that relates to a level 1 monster. Here's a level 2 monster. And it would be very, basically that's what they could do.
What we're going to come on to, these expert classes, I think I don't know as much about them in the sense of like what the reaction has been to them in the community, because obviously there was a lot of discourse about the first one, the character origins one, which obviously we followed quite a lot. So we were like, oh, what does this mean, etc. So if we look at the class groups, so as you sort of rightly pointed out there, we have groups, or we're grouping these classes together. So the experts ones, which what we're going to talk about today, the Bard, Rogue, and Ranger, but also Artificer has been put in there, but apparently that's not going to appear in the player's handbook.
I find that very strange, particularly when, like that when they're bringing all the racial options into like the base model of like the blocks, it sounds like, and they have in D&D, like the new updated core rule books have all the playable races available. I think I'm right in saying that. And they've brought in a lot of the Tasha rules for different classes. Why would they remove what is a very popular class? I think nowadays I see people love them. I've got in my Bowie's game, I've got everyone wanted to be one type of artificer. I had to stop. I've got 2 artificers, and I'm like, where's this come from?
Too many artificers. Yeah,
everyone said, "Oh, I'd like to be an artificer." I'm like, where's this come from? I didn't know this was such a popular.
Yeah. No, I as soon as I saw Sam Riegel play an artificer in Critical Role, I was like, that's such a cool class. I want to play that.
Yeah.
So those are the experts.
Yeah.
Then you have mages, which could be sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. You have priests, which is cleric, druid, and paladin, and then finally warriors, which are barbarian, fighter, and monk. Now, in the original D&D, or all previous editions of D&D, the priest was a class itself, correct?
Yeah.
That was, I feel a bit icky, I'm going to be honest, about the word priests to define this.
Yeah.
I just feel like, for me, priests has very loaded connotations.
Oh, it's just loaded.
So I just wondered if there was a better word to group them together.
I also technically think a warlock's closer to a cleric than a druid is.
So you'd think you'd swap warlock for a priest of some sort?
I would say a druid and a warlock are the wrong way around.
Ooh.
Because I think a druid is a mage of nature, uses natural magic in the mage way. They're not a cleric that gains. Well, again, they can be.
Yeah.
You could see it that way. I could see them both in both senses. A warlock is definitely, though, gaining its magic from an other being, right? And also doesn't have a great spell list like a wizard or a sorcerer, unlike a druid, which has actually a pretty good spell list compared to a warlock. A warlock is pretty much Eldritch blasting everyone.
Yeah. I wonder if it's down to the new sort of rejigging of the spell list, because instead of having all separate spell lists, they've now gone for 3 separate ones, so the arcane, divine, and primal.
And that's what they've said, isn't it? The arcane, then the divine and primal magic, because it's utility and destruction, and warlocks are destruction. So then I'd say that the terminology is incorrect. They should sages and mages.
Oh, sages, yeah. Every religion, every culture has a sage of some sort, right?
Sage is just a wise
person.
Wise person. And I think that's a better. So mages, sages, warriors.
Easy to remember as well.
That's a good title for a D&D offshoot. Sages and mages.
Sages and mages and warriors, oh my. That's Moving on then, so the highlights of this article is in a nice little box, essentially, so all 3 classes will have new features as well as revised versions of old features. And then one thing I think got a lot of criticism for in that first playtest was this idea of suggested, and it's always going for this suggested stuff, because they didn't really have that in that first playtest stuff. They've now made it sure saying, hey, so when you get offered a decision, there's a suggested choice, but by no means do you need to take it. It just is, if you want to make a character quickly and easily.
This is for beginners, so that they're like, I want to make a rogue. I want just to start somewhere that makes sense. I don't understand the mechanics yet. This is your preferred. Like they used to have like suggested class options,
right,
in the previous one, which is like, okay, you're going to make a ranger, put your money on dex and wisdom, do this sort of thing. Or if you want to go down a melee route, maybe strength and wisdom.
I mean, in the original Player's Handbook of 5th edition, obviously it does say that sort of do this, take this background, etc.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
So whereas obviously here, it's just choices within the class as well. And one thing we'll talk about, we have talked about whenever this episode comes out, is that creating your characters, it seems like from that first playtest, is that you would choose your class first, rather than your race first when you're creating your own character. It suggests you take that first because they've broken it down a little bit differently in order to take it apart. So I just thought that was interesting. But more importantly, which I think something that we both were quite excited about, is that the 20th level feature of each of these classes has been moved to the 18th level.
That bloody laugh, because they're all crap.
We're not going to have the letdown, but then at 20th level, we'll have Epic Boons. Epic Boons are going to be a bigger thing in the next edition, which is exciting because I don't think a lot of people get a chance to have them or play them. I mean, getting up to a higher level anyways is always...
Can I see my other thing that I see with this is that is beneficial because those 20th level class features were never 20th level enough.
Yeah.
But I think it's partly a good thing and partly a cop-out because it also, and I think is a good thing, is a cop-out because it's like, well, we can't think of anything specifically good. Here's some options that you can work for any of them. But also my other reasoning is there are going to be documents and there are going to be DM's Guild products probably out now, which are already written, 200 epic boons, do you know what I mean? That are going to be super awesome and that are going to make being a 20th level whatever worthwhile.
I think I know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Which class would you like to look at first?
No, can we do it in order? Because then we'll just
of course.
That's the best way.
All right.
I either want to start with my favourite class or my least favourite class and then have Bard somewhere in the middle. But I think if we start with Bard, get that out of the way, and then we can get to the more...
more interesting...
Interesting, that's a good word, yeah.
Sure. Okay,
emotive.
So Bard primary ability is charisma, has a nice little summary about what a bard is. It's like they can do music, but they can do anything. It's it's way with words, which is always quite nice. The other thing I will mention is that they've changed armor proficiency just to say armor training. I don't really know why. It feels a bit pedantic.
And I think it's funny because when proficiency picks itself up in other things, but I guess it's trying to separate it out from the proficiencies table so people don't get confused with it and they're you know what they're going to do?
What?
They're going to change AC.
Do you think?
I think that's what they're going to do.
So do you think it could be a flat? It might not be related to Dex at all.
Yeah, because it says revising counter building rules. I money now down on AC changing to being related to your armor that you use.
Nothing to do with your abilities.
Nothing to do with your ability.
Because you might have a negative ability.
Yes.
Ooh. How do you feel about that?
Ooh, I feel that it means that it will free up dexterity because I think a lot of people go, I'm always going to put something on dex. I'm never going to have negative dex. I think because people do. Like, even if you're a wizard, you're like, well, I'll just dump a bit in dex so that I get at least some sort of AC. Whilst if you got rid of it from that and made it purely about your armor training or what you're wearing,
it feels very Elden Ring in that aspect of it. You're just like building yourself up to be like almost like a Tin Man,
or maybe balancing it differently so that it's not like, because it is very much like you get from armor, you get a very small benefit on top of your dexterity. It may be dexterity, maybe it's like flip, so it's like you get 10 baseline from a light armor and then your dexterity boosts you to 14 instead of it being you got what your dex is +2 or something.
It makes it a bit sucky, I guess, for the players in the sense of like, because I mean, I've obviously played with players who like, when they're doing all their maths, all that sort of thing, and they go, my armor is 22, and then I'm going to reaction shield as 20, all that sort of thing, and because that's crazy.
I still think that'll be about, but maybe it'll just be simplified in the sense that, or it would just. But I just think the weighting might change because I've always found that a funny thing in it that you always put something in dex.
You know what? That's a very interesting catch. Actually, I hadn't considered that.
I only picked it up now when you noticed. I just saw armor and I just saw light armor and I just assumed it was proficiencies.
So next up then is starting equipment. And the thing I've spoken to you off podcast is what I didn't realize is two things. So now instead of like or sometimes it's like you get a hand axe or melee weapon of your choice, etc. You now get everything. But one thing I hadn't spotted, but I had a quick check, and it is in the 5th edition one. If you don't want to have the starting equipment, you obviously get money for it. In the previous edition, it was lots of dice rolling essentially, and it would depend on the class you took, would depend on how much money you got. And here, it's just giving you a straight value of what it is. So rather than dice rolling it, it's just like 100 GPs.
Again, streamlining.
As I said to you, I feel I get it because obviously each class is going to have different starting equipment, but I feel people should get the same amount of money when they're starting.
As I said, I think it's because of the averageness of what kit you would need. Like, a wizard doesn't need armor, just needs some arcane focus, but needs to buy maybe some material components if you're doing that. So they probably need that amount of money, whilst a fighter might need 2 weapons, plus a backup weapon, plus some armor that's cost a bit of money, and an edge exploration pack, and that just kind of adds up. Probably that's the only thing I could think is the reason why.
I think that is probably exactly what it is. It just feels, again, if we're taking this whole thing like, well, everyone's equal, no one has negative stuff, but then everyone starts off with not as much money. Again, I know that's being so pedantic and it's just so niggling. ultimately it doesn't matter. Like I'm always someone who starts with the same starting equipment because again, for ease, I'm just like done.
Yeah.
You know.
The other thing that it's made me think of is changing encounter. This is me thinking forward again. They won't have roll dice for hit points. I bet they will just have the flat rate because I don't. Who bothers? Out there? I'm sure you do. I'm sure someone does, but I don't bother.
Again, it's those chaotic people who are like, I want to roll for all my stats, and I'm like, why don't you just take standard array?
I always do point buy. Always do point buy. That's it.
I don't know. I think maybe because we've been encouraged to like get as much dice as possible, so we want to make use of as much dice as possible. But I don't know. True. Again, maybe there'll be a rule like, hey, if you like rolling, go for it. Like I always use average damage when I'm doing monsters now, just because. And I know that's maybe not as fun for the DM, but I'm like, I don't want to keep rolling stuff. I'm already hitting them. Unless it's a cool ass attack, then I'm like, fine, all right, I'll roll all these d10s. But then it's like, no, 2d6. Oh no, you get what?
Oh, you even 8. For attack, you will take the average.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't do that. I can't bother that. I roll for that, but for the hit points, I'm like, fuck that. I'll always take hit points average instead of rolling for level up because I ain't taking that risk.
Maybe you and I are we're just tired of this stuff now, so we're just like, we'll do
that's
it.
The thing.
Like, when you're a new player, you're like, oh, I want to roll this.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I find it interesting that they've got rid of the roll for the 100 GP, but like for the money. But I imagine that on D&D Beyond, you don't roll for the money; you just get the standard number.
Yeah. So. But I guess as well, because you obviously certain shows do show people leveling up, like Critical Role. They do the rolling dice thing.
Well, it's another bit of gamble fun. It's a bit of gambling, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's, nice
it's more. I guess that's more interesting to watch as a streamer than a playing.
And it's entertaining when someone gets a crap number, but when it's you, it's fucking annoying. Yeah, it's fun for a stream and like doing a one shot, and you're like, oh, I've got really crap stats. And for role playing, amazing, but combat, you're just like, it's a bit tiring now.
Let's move on then to the class features of the Bard. I'm going to let you take Bardic Inspiration.
So it's changed now a little bit. So before, it used to just be like, inspiration, chucking it at everyone, at yourself, but you can only now use it in a certain number of ways. It starts as a D6, which I think is the same. I don't know if it was a D4 before. No, I think it was always a D6 to start with. So you can boost a D20 test, which is a new term that I haven't seen before, because it used to be on a action or on a ability check or a saving throw. It's on all D20 tests.
So probably death saving throws, if you're doing it, concentration checks, that sort of thing.
You give it, there's reaction, rolls that die and adds a number to the D20, potentially turn the failure into a success.
Yeah.
But that is when another creature within 6 feet of you that you can see or hear fails a D20 test.
Yeah.
It's not before...
Nope.
And it's not, I'm giving you inspiration and then you can hold it for 4 hours. It is, you've made the test, you've made a mistake, now use it. I think it makes no difference to the mechanic apart from making it actually, because you used to have to call it before you
and it would be a bonus action to call it before rather than a reaction. So it frees up bards with their bonus actions, but it does feel a bit... I guess I definitely see it flavoursome wise why that works, but I just feel I miss the idea like I could hold it on. It's not it's not when I fail.
Someone's told me something great, and I'm going to hold on to this idea of me being great. I don't know, like someone said like you can do this, and it's that movie moment like when you then an hour later and they're in the fight and they're down and they're like, and you hear the you can do this. This, and they go dun 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 dun, and they slice up and win, and that's kind of why I prefer. I like it also in the sort of moment, but I think I would the homebrew rule I'd have is you can hold on to that.
You hold on to it for 10 minutes. Yeah, exactly. And the second part of that is that now you can get. Healing as a result of that. So again, when you see when that same sort of thing, if you can see a creature within 60 feet, see or hear. So if you hear someone go you're like, oh no,
I'm hurt.
You can use reaction to roll Bardic Inspiration and restore that number of hit points. So obviously the player doesn't do it, but the bard does.
I think that's great, and it makes it so much more of a utility because they always do like Song of Rest or what's the other one, and like they can do healing magics as well, like healing word and stuff
out of combat as well. So no, I like that. It's an again, you have a number of Bardic Inspirations equal to proficiency, yada yada yada, all that sort of thing. So what they're going through that route now of like your abilities, they're linked to your proficiencies, which is great on that front. So
Then what you get is spellcasting.
Yeah, so this is new in spellcasting terms anyway. This idea, so obviously there are suggested spells, which is always good because of color spray, disguise self, prestidigitation, and vicious mockery. Classic Bard
Exactly
spells.
what I was thinking. Classic.
We'll go on to like what else you can prepare in a second, but when you finish a long rest, you can replace any spell you prepared for this class with another arcane spell of the same level, abiding the school restrictions. So here it talks about your spells can only come from one of the following schools of magic: is divination, enchantment, illusion, or transmutation. And I was saying to you, two things. One, I don't know what the schools of magic do, so I'm stuffed as a player. I'm gonna have to learn those quickly.
See, the thing is, I've kind of got my head around them, but have after just finding out what they are. But I couldn't tell you necessarily each spell and go, that's definitely that one.
If I said, I don't know, a mage hand, you'd be like, illusion. Yeah, probably illusion.
Or is it transmutation?
Well, there you go, right? Transmutation is changing things into things, right?
Yeah, but sometimes you have like a spirits or a transmutation one, whilst an illusion is something that's not real. So if the mage hand is a illusory thing, but I think it might be like the spirit of somebody that like Big B's hand is a transmutation spell, not an illusion spell, because it's transmutation would be summoning something as transmutation as well.
Okay. So as you can tell, we're like, oh god. So what they've done now with the free sort of spell list is that obviously there's schools in it, and then for each class that has spell casting,
make it complicated.
You can you can have some of these spells when you level up or when you're preparing spells, but they have to be from certain schools.
Just have the bard list.
I know. Again, like you were saying to me, it's trying to streamline it into free sort of spell list, which I think I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But at the same time,
but they're not.
They're not, because I'd be like, I want to know, what can I do? Again, maybe that's just me coming to it, but I just feel like we've got the three things, great, but then you're going to have to look through it unless it's organized in a particular way.
Well, they all just have the bard spell list like they used to, but it's just what you want is, I mean, just use D&D Beyond.
Well, yeah, but that might change by the time all this.
Yeah, but the thing is, D&D Beyond makes it like you can't prepare a spell that you don't know. So there's the useful thing about it. So you just have your list that you see is what you can use. So I think that's the easy thing. Computers make it.
But also, again, we have to say not everyone has D&D Beyond. I know we're suckers.
No, but then what they'll do is that they'll have the spells as they're written out, and then they have the spell list separately, which is always annoying. But as you say, if they could do it with, your idea was do it by those, if they do the lists by the actual schools, then it is very easy than doing them as just here's all spells and then telling you what they are afterwards is a bit because
then you could be like, primal will go down to evocation, here's those ones in level order as well. But then the thing I wanted to do, we sort of chatted about it a little bit, so when you finish a long rest you can switch any spell. For me, what that wording means is that any one spell, it's not a number of spells, because obviously when you prepare, so when you're a paladin currently, you can prepare your whole spell list, but here it felt like, you can only do one at a time from the wording. I think it means all of them, but I think that needs clarification. That's fine, because otherwise you could have a really cruel person say, you can only change one of your spells, because that would be absolute bollocks.
No, that's bollocks.
Most bards would be like, I know various monologues and cool musical things. And you're like, yeah, well, here's a new Taylor Swift song you need to remember. Oh no, I'm gonna have to take out Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. What a swap out, but
I mean, why? But good for you. But I think. But this is but as I said, this is something that Hamilton gets annoyed about. Again, here we go. Hamilton's annoyed. No, so like, you know what really grinds my gears is where's the flavorful mechanic that I'm missing from this, which is fine, and maybe it will have it in the thing. But like wizards have a spell book, and they can only have access to all the spells and all the lists because they can learn any spell. But the caveat is, they need to learn it. They need to have seen it. They need to have studied the runes or the magical inquiry behind it. A bard, I feel, is similar. I personally, in my mind, it is knowing the soliloquy, the performative art, the mime routine, I'm thinking of all random bard things, the song that creates the magical effect. And so what are they suggesting? And I guess I just want that little bit of text that just says, as you progress through levels, you gain knowledge of more songs and more routines, or is it you absorb this music from the universe, and that's how that I just feel like would be nice to be added to it, which is just having this sort of like, why are they gaining these spells? How do they do it? Are they gaining it from the ether, or are they gaining it because they're actually going out and experiencing it? And I was just saying, like, they add mechanics to so many things they don't need that are unnecessary to add mechanics to, like the character option things that we will talk about. And I think, why don't they add mechanics to things which would actually be more fun? Like, if you go to a gig, you will learn a song. I don't know, or like downtime activities to increase your spellcasting, or just explain that sort of ability of like how you progress.
It's almost like they've streamlined it so much that it doesn't matter. Like maybe they've taken out what I would consider the grinding aspect of it.
Yeah.
To that point, which is, I think, it's such a shame, because when you think of stuff like, you know, Elden Ring or Skyrim or anything like that, you learn these things, you put in points and all that sort of thing. So, I don't know the answer to it, but yeah,
it's just a different RPG, I guess. That's the thing. I think it's just not being that RPG, and there are probably other ones out there. And but this is D&D, and this is where we are. So anyway, that's the I think we've sort of explained it.
I do feel like, I think you and I will both be like, you can replace all of your spells, even if it comes out as a clarification later on, like, oh, it's only one spell per long rest, and you're like, nah, fuck that. Life's for living, you know. Level 2. Now, this is where I think my big, not problem with classes is, I think what they've done is really interesting and really, and like, it feels a bit different, got rid of the cobwebs, etc. But expertise. Now, it feels like more classes have expertise as a result, and it feels to me a bit bland as a result. I get it, as you're going up the levels, you're like, you're getting a bit better at your things, so yeah, you're going to be more proficient in them. But I like having the weird abilities. I like having danger sense, even though I never use it as a barbarian, because one time when the trap goes up, I go, wait, I have a thing for this. That
weird ability you use once every 10 get sessions, but it's so cool to have when it happens.
Because it's not like the DM's going to be like, oh, you, whatever. I just feel that's great. Whereas I feel like proficiencies, it might lead to players going, can I use Arcana for this? And I feel that takes me, whenever people ask for checks, it's one of my little pet hates.
Tell me what you want to do, and then I'll tell you what the check's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes people just roll for it straight away. Go, I did an insight check. And like, why don't you say, can I see what his motive is? Or can I see, can I, what's in the room? Or are there any guards nearby? I prefer those, because then you could be like, then it's the choice of the DM to tell you what to do. Yeah.
I'm also happy if they're like, can I use, like, I want to do this, but can I use Arcana for it? And you'd be like, yeah, okay, but this means you're only going to get this sort of information. Whilst, like, can I do an investigation check but using my Arcana? And I'm like, well, yeah, but you'll only understand magical things about it. You won't understand everything about it, if you know what I mean. Whilst if you did an investigation, you might find something more. I don't know. You know.
And maybe that this sort of thing is away from that whole expertise things. But I just feel, again, it's cool that more classes are getting more expert in it, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, having good stats and having good proficiencies makes the game better, I think. Again, I don't want to mean like min-maxing, but I think in the things that are important to you as your class, unless you're going for something that you're intentionally want to be a bad bard, like you want to be a bard that has got a low charisma and that's part of the fun, then totally fine. And I love that. I love that as a gameplay mechanic. But I think when it comes to combat and enjoyment of that element of it, because I think roleplay is different, because having anything, I think when it comes to that, unless you will enjoy not doing well at things, that actually having the ability to at least half the time succeed means that you can actually do something. And I don't mean that, because failing can be enjoyable, but if you're in combat and you're trying to cast spells and you're trying to do this and your spell save is 10 and everyone rolls higher than it, and you just get frustrated unless you accept it. But I think it's an interesting mechanic of it.
I think the choice should always be there. With the DM saying, are you sure about this? Because I think it's definitely something that for me as a more experienced player, but I like the challenge of doing that maybe as a one shot or very limited couple of sessions, because then it makes me think, all right, I'm not as good in combat. What else can I do? Can I support the other players who are good at combat? Like I've tried out being a sorcerer for the first time. I mean, I burned through spell slots like it's no tomorrow, but I like the fact that now I have to look at my spells and go, oh, this will be very good.
I see it on both sides. That's the thing. I see it both sides, and I can see there is something that we've mentioned when we get to level 20. Sometimes you can not feel expert enough in your class, and I do think that this helps. I think there are times when I've had characters that I've made that are high level, 10th level, and sometimes you can still feel a bit wishy-washy.
Yes.
And that you're not quite defined enough. And that can be down to my own fault as much as anyone's. And that's probably why they give you suggestions. But I think that's why I guess I love rogues, because rogues are so much fun, because they have expertise. They have the jack of all trades thing, which they've given sort of similar things as well.
To the bard,
which they go to the bard. And they get so many things that are just like, you are good at what rogues do. And that's why rogues are such a great class, because even though they're not specific, because the subclasses are so varied, but you are good at being a rogue when you play a rogue. Yeah. Whilst you can be a paladin and be crap at being a paladin. Yeah. And you can be a warlock and be crap at being a warlock, and you can be a barbarian and be crap at being a barbarian. That's kind of where I'm at on that, I think.
Next thing you get is Songs of Restoration. So again, very similar to like Song of Rest, but now they've switched it so that you get more spells, mostly healing spells. Healing Word at level 2, Lesser Restoration, level 4, Mass Healing Word, Freedom of Movement, which is a cracking spell, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how good it was until I used it recently, so that's good. And then 10th level, Greater Restoration. So that's quite cool that instead of just giving an extra however many dice when you do when you're having a rest, you get these extra spells, which actually could open you up to doing more stuff in battle, should you want to. Again, maybe you're a bard, you might like being more offensive, perhaps, so maybe you won't use these as much, but I thought they were quite good.
I think the more healing you give players, the more attacking they'll do.
Agreed.
And the more reckless they'll be. And I think that can be fun. And I think that's sort of part of it.
More risks.
Whilst if you want to play it the other way, like I did in the Cursed Strahd game I did, where there's not enough healing, is that then you are so much more measured and you play the game that way. So I think from a beginner's point of view, having lots of healers and ability to heal is positive and giving that to players. But you can always manage that as a DM by not giving them a rest.
I guess, because I guess it's the challenge of it, isn't it? That's
It allows more flexibility and more ability for that challenge to be lowered naturally in the gameplay.
Jack of all trades, obviously. You get at these levels, you also get feats as well. You get up to, I think, up to 5 or 6 feats. I think because you get like a first level feat as well when you pick a class. Font of Bardic Inspiration, so regaining all your Bardic Inspiration on a short and long rest.
I think that's really great. The short rest fantastic. Thing is really good.
Oh, it makes it feel more warlocky in a way.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the more benefits you gain in a short rest are really useful, particularly on dungeon crawls.
The other thing about Font of Bardic Inspiration, though, this is the first time I've ever seen this, is that if a creature rolls your Bardic Inspiration die and gets a 1, then that use of Bardic Inspiration isn't expended. I feel that's just going to be a lot to keep track of.
It's nice. I think it's nice. I think it's just actually making the game a bit fairer, a bit like less frustrating. Like, I got a 1 and you, like on a Bardic Inspiration die. But then again, sometimes that's all you need. But sometimes it's like, like you fail your D20 test by 1. And you're just like, great, I've got an inspiration die. Well, I've got it. Doesn't matter what I roll, and you get a 1. And it's like, because then you'll be like, I want a 1, because then you'll get another inspiration pack.
Yeah, that's very true. I quite like that. But it's on the player to remember it. I would never remember that as a DM. Like, by the way, that's a 1. Like, I let the players remember that.
Yeah, exactly. Then you get another feat, another set of expertise, which is funny because then you've now doubled the expertise, which is like, as you said, it feels a bit like, well, there's room here for. I like the fact that there are more feats, and we will talk about feats at another time, but there are some good feats, and actually you can make your own whole basic class and very particular strategy for your character by just using feats, and I think they're really interesting. But there's also the fact that it does lack the focusing of of making you an amazing bard.
Then you get magical secrets and further magical secrets. So this is, I'm sure this is in the actual bard stuff itself. Like, I'm sure, like, basically it's their ability to gain more magic and have access to more of the spell things. So you, for both of them, you choose a spell list. So out of the arcane, divine, or primal, you have to choose a different one for each one. And then whenever you prepare spells for this class, up to 2 of the spells can be from any school of magic. And you're like, great.
I like the fact that I would have much preferred when they get to 11th level, you now have access to all arcane spells. Yeah. Doesn't matter the school of magic. And then 15th level, you get access to all the spell lists. And that would have been the simplest way to do it. Because that's what's great. That's what's great about the 5e Bard is they are the most diverse spellcaster actually out there. They are, I think wizards can be super powerful, but the benefit of playing a Bard is you get armor, you get expertise in lots of things, you don't get some of the other boons that wizards get, but you're not the glass cannon, but you can be super. I mean, we'll all agree that Scan and Shorthold won Critical Role season 1. If we're going to win, then win at D&D. But like, he went up against, and Matt Mercer made that point at the end. The whole thing he loved about it was that he said, I wanted to prove through this that bards are an important and really, really great class, because they are.
They're not the silly little...
Yeah, they are ridiculously powerful, but like ridiculously powerful class to play. And I would, if I had the choice of choosing a spellcaster, I think they're up there on top of my list for spellcasters.
I guess the way you just described that, I'm just imagining like Tom Bombadil from Lord of the Rings, just like this enigmatic, charming, but also incredibly powerful, but in a very disarming way that that doesn't have an evil intent, perhaps, you know.
And it's not bumbling in the sense of like the wizard, like the Gandalf, like, you know, it's just and then go, do not take me for a fool. Peregrine Took, and you're like, I am not a cheap conjurer of tricks, and you like realize that they're actually super powerful, and that's a different way of doing it. But the bard is
Amdram acting,
yeah, exactly. But the bard is more like la 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 la, boom, you're dead. Oh, what? How did that happen? You know, I wasn't expecting that.
Then coming up to the last couple of things on the bard sort of main things, we've got superior bardic inspiration, which I quite like this one. Like, you roll initiative, you regain 2 expended uses of your bardic inspiration.
I think that's really good. And I think that. I like that as a new, I'm stealing that for other like subclass options, is like on a roll of initiative as a new point of like additional things. Short rest, long rest, on roll of initiative. Mm-hmm. Yes, why have I not thought of that? It's like, that is such a good point. Is like, on a roll of initiative, you gain everything back. Oh, that'd be amazing. But like, if you could gain back some things that you like, things like inspiration, or things like songs of rest or healing abilities, would be a great thing to be like, okay, we've now hit combat, you gain a bit of that back because the adrenaline rush or something like that. You know, the fight or flight response gives you this ability.
The thing for me, I've always thought like inspiration, I love it as a thing, but I think what happens when you get to higher levels, you're like, here's some inspiration, and then you don't use it because obviously you ace all your checks. But here, it's more immediate.
Yeah.
It, again, frees up the bard to do the bonus action spells if they want to do that, but it means that they can be like, hey, I'm going to help you out right now when you need it.
That's very true. These two together work very well, and that's a good point, because in that Vecna fight, I just think of, you know, it's just like, you need to roll 21s, you need to roll 22s, and they're difficult to do even at level 18. So having that bardic inspiration and having 2 extra spended slots and having them, if it's a 1, getting them back, you've now got to a point where it's like you're a real boon to, not to use a term that's coming up, but it's obviously my mind, to your party, because you're like, inspiration. So Oprah Bard. Oh my gosh, an Oprah Bard would be awesome.
That would be actually quite, like a journalist type interviewer who is a bard. I think that would work so well, actually.
Use their inspirational speeches and like sort of, oh, okay, I'm up for that.
At level 20, you get an epic boon, and it suggests you get the epic boon of luck, which is immediately after you roll a d20 for a d20 test, you can roll a d10 and add the number rolled to the test. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it until you roll initiative or finish a short or long rest.
You were prepared for your epic boons. I was like, scroll. I couldn't get to them quick enough. And I was like, you're already there. That's impressive.
I'm here. Yeah. As we'll come on to in the College of Law class, it's nice to be able to inspire or have something for yourself, because constantly the bard's like, here. And then you can't, current version, you can't inspire yourself. So I like that here. At level 20, you're like, I've got this.
I'm also going to think that at level 20, it makes more sense than a reroll of a d20.
Yes.
Because the thing is, even if you've got a 9, that can mean doing nothing, right? But if you've got a 9 and you can add a d10, that's 19, the maximum. Whilst if it's like, I've got a 9, that hasn't done it, I need to roll a d20. Well, I can get anything below 9 now, and it's not going to be useful to me. At lower levels, the old-fashioned luck is really good, because actually you just need the luck. You just need more options to get it. But having the d10 as an additional, I quite like that. Again, until you roll initiative or finish a short rest. Again, it's there. Love it.
It's ready for you to keep fighting.
Yeah, I love it. I really like that. But I think once is a little bit low for a luck.
Ooh,
would you have 3? I think I'd have the 3, like the old.
You'd have 3,
like the old-fashioned luck.
Ooh. Yeah, because I was going to say as many proficiencies, but actually you'd have like 5 or 6.
Yeah,
plus.
I think. Or half your proficiency bonus rolled minimum 1.
No, I think you're right. I think like the old luck feat, which was just free, I think 3 here.
And also 3 and luck goes together, doesn't it? So
it does.
Once more for luck, third time for luck. Third time's lucky. I think that's kind of
third time's the charm. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
I think that's why.
So so you can take this boon or any of the other epic boons that is suggested here. But I think the luck boon, I think I would always take that. I'm just maybe that sort of thing. Whenever I'm going to get to level 20.
Yeah, I think that's the best one for this. I was trying to think. There are other ones. I think if you wanted to go down the healing one, you go for maybe the recovery one was the one I was thinking of. I also think dimensional travel is always a fun because I like misty stepping.
Yeah.
Again, I think all of these need to be 3s, but we can come to that. Because I think for epic boon,
you should be. We've said this before. You should be our god.
The word epic makes me wonder: will they make epic classes for D&D 1D&D?
Ooh, in what sense?
So they used to have what they called epic classes. I think they were called epic classes. I can't remember. But in the old D&D, you could have plus 20 level classes that went up to level 30, which I think were called heroic level or epic.
I had heard about these, yeah.
You basically became deities, and it was incredible. But that's when it actually made some. I can't. It's my brain's too old for remembering exactly the terminology. But I think it makes me think of it. I think it were called epic classes, and I think it would be I think people have made them for 5e, like on DM's Guild. It's an interesting thing, and I think with long form campaigns now and people playing for longer, but also wanting to start high level campaigns and existing in 20 level campaigns now, or at least starting at level 15 or 10 even, that having a 10 to 30 or a new game plus, as it would be called in computer game terms, would be kind of interesting. That was it really, but I still think they're not epic enough.
Let's finish off the Bard by looking at the subclass they provided, which is the College of Law one, which again, a classic.
A classic Bards.
I think this one does appear in the Player's Handbook off the top of my head, but we have yet to cover Bards in its entirety on DM's Book Club.
I'd have to get the book out and I can't miss over there.
We'll have to do it at some point, no doubt.
Yeah.
But here you get sort of 5 features, as you do with most subclasses.
Yep.
3rd level, bonus proficiencies, get more stuff, so you're more of a jack of trades, get more stuff. Great. Cutting words, our favourite sort of bard thing. You learn how to use your wit to supernaturally distract, confuse, and otherwise sap the confidence and competence of others. What a great line. It's basically, when you see them succeed on an attack, or an ability check or an attack roll within 60 feet, you use your reaction again rather than your bonus action to roll your bardic inspiration and then subtract that roll to potentially turning it into a failure, which I quite like.
And I've always liked that. I think cutting words is a good one. It always makes me think of insult sword fighting. Yeah.
Do you remember if it was linked to your bardic inspiration though, or was it just a D4 or something?
I think it was bardic inspiration.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, he's gone to get the book now, guys.
I'm going to get the book now. I need it. Player's Handbook. It's filled with other pages. Look at this thing.
Oh, wow. Hey, that's a sign of a good used book.
It's filled with lots of different stuff, so finding crap is going to be difficult. But
no, I guess it's just because I just find that interesting, because I've always thought it was like a D4 and that's what you do. But again, I've never played Bards fully, so this is just me learning for my own benefit.
I wanted to do this because I want to actually use the book, because then I've actually used it for the first time. I've not opened this book in such a long time. So here we go.
Is it like
yeah, it's like it's a bit dusty. College of Law.
Yeah, that's the one.
Cutting words. You can use your reaction to expend one of your uses of a bardic inspiration.
Oh, so it's exactly the same thing. There we go.
Well, it is literally, you got bonus proficiencies, you got cutting words.
Cunning inspiration.
Yeah, you used to get additional magical secrets. So they've moved cunning inspiration and they've given the additional magical secrets into the main thing. Yeah, and they've also given you an additional one, which is the improved cutting words, and then peerless skill is the same. So that's the difference.
Oh, the peerless skill is the one I was going to say. So that's the one where you can inspire yourself. So you expend one of your bad inspirations and roll it, and then add it to an ability check. Only to ability check though, not an attack. Cunning inspiration, though, again, just to go back a little bit, that's when a creature rolls your bardic inspiration and then can roll the dice twice and take the higher of the 2 rolls. I quite like that. And improved cutting words, you deal psychic damage equal to the number rolled in the bardic inspiration die plus your charisma modifier, so a little bit more damage.
Yeah.
Overall, it's quite a nice. I think they pair very nicely, obviously, because it's a classic bard subclass and with the bard class itself. There's nothing, I don't find anything wrong with it or anything like that.
Did you talk about peerless skill?
I did talk about peerless skill, where so inspiring yourself, because you're like, I definitely got this. But yeah, that's only an ability check. I think maybe what I'd like to see later on is like you could just do it on any D20
any D20 test. Exactly. The wording that they're now using. I'm now stealing that. So that is the Bard, isn't it, really?
Yeah, overall thoughts in general? Any final thought of the Bard?
I think, as we're going to find with all of them, they're making them more expert, which I think is good. I think it makes sense. I think it fits with the title. I think the streamlining-ishness of spells probably could do with some work. I just think I'm not 100% sold on the idea yet, but maybe once I've used it, it's fine. And it depends on how the book is laid out.
Yep, agreed.
They're trying to make some things easier and some things more complicated. It is a funny thing. Yep. But yeah, overall, I don't think it's affected it greatly. Epic Boons could be better.
So next up is Rangers. Now, as you know, Hamilton, we recently went through Rangers quite a bit.
Oh, did we? I blanked out. I think I went into a zone. I went into a zone and completely forgot what happened.
Yeah, I think overall our summary of Rangers was like, we wish it would have been better because a lot of it made us cross. And we did go over obviously the original Player's Handbook one and then the updated one.
And they were happy with Tasha's. Tasha's was the Return of the Jedi, as we called it. Yeah.
So is this one of the latest ones?
Oh no,
The Last Skywalker.
No, I hope bloody not. I hope bloody not. It could be if it's Rogue One. It might be Rogue One. It might be the original 1 D&D, the Rogue One D&D that fixes it all. But I don't know. I think it's a bit of Tasha's light.
So yeah, so their primary ability for this is Dexterity and Wisdom, which we knew about already. And again, the nice little summary of what a Ranger is. It's a little bit light compared to the other two, I would say, perhaps. But I think it does an all right job. It talks about their connection to nature. It definitely emphasizes the primal powers, indicating that their spell list is primal. Yeah. In terms of like hit points, proficiency, same old, nothing different there.
I always forget they get a D10. It's a solid
one, isn't it?
Yeah.
D10 for their hit die and stuff, yeah. And their starting equipment, again, it's taken away from that and/or thing. You now do get arrows and a sword sword and a scimitar. You're ready to go. You're like,
Well, you have to have a scimitar because of Drizzt. That's the only reason you have to have a scimitar.
Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, because he uses 2 scimitars, and it's like it's physically you have to have one because people want to be Drizzt or Dritzt.
Going on to class features then. And we'll say for this, like we said, it is like a light version of Tasha. It's the Ranger class is completely unrecognizable, I would say, out of the 3. So
yeah, it's similar once you've read Tasha's and then reorganized. And can I just say the one thing just before we go into it?
I just saw your face go, I'll go for it.
I gotta do it.
Please.
They didn't have the guts to get rid of spellcasting. They just didn't have the guts to do it. If they did it, I would have said, yes, well done. Top marks, 10 out of 10. Here's a star. You've won.
You've completed D&D.
You've won the Hamilton Seal of Approval.
Ooh, coveted.
How amazing. No, I'm joking. But I just think if they had done that and said spellcasting and they did 2 subclasses and one of them was a druid-based like Circle of the Ranger or something like that subclass, I'd have been like, amazing. But it's fine. It's still very good. I just think that's the one thing they should have done.
It's interesting. If they'd taken out spellcasting, I think then they'd have to move this whole class to warriors as a result.
No, because they're an expert. And favoured enemy. Their expertise in stealth and all those things. I think it still works as an expertise class. Because they've done the things that we've talked about, which we'll come on to.
Yes, fair enough.
Continue.
I love that. Okay, we'll start spellcasting out the way. Again, similar thing. If you were getting spellcasting and at level 1, if you wish to choose, you could have the following spells prepared. That's Cure Wounds, Guidance, Hunter's Mark, and Thorn Whip. And you can prepare any spell from the primal. It must be a primal spell, and it can be from any school of magic apart from evocation.
Which I find weird because technically they're quite an attacky class in some ways. But I guess that this is the thing. It proves that their spellcasting is purely bonus material. And I think maybe, in some respects, their spellcasting is not spellcasting in theory. If you wanted to flavour it, it's actually their ability to cure wounds. It's not magic, maybe. It's more their sort of like field skills. And guidance is the fact that they apply benefits to understanding people. And Hunter's Mark is actually an innate thing. It's not necessarily magic. I know that they do flavour it that way, but I think you can flavour it another way.
I love that. Yeah, like it's just an extra thing rather than I'm using a spell.
Yeah, it's magic. Like when I did a Ranger Detective class, it's like Sherlock's not magical, but he is basically like a magician because he's so intelligent that it appears like magic.
At level 1 as well, you also get expertise expertise again, but also you get favorite enemy, our favorite enemy.
But it's better this time.
So much better. Yes, before it was absolutely awful.
Oh, it's Dave. Okay, we better have a dragon this campaign because Dave will be bored. So we don't have to have that anymore.
Yeah, so you always have Hunter's Mark prepared, and it doesn't count towards your number of spells you can prepare.
Yeah.
Great. More importantly, you do not have to concentrate on the spell. Once you cast it, it lasts for its full duration, which I think is an hour, unless you end it as a bonus action or until you're incapacitated. So that's really cool, because obviously Hunter's Mark is such a classic staple.
A classic
ranger thing, which you know, not only does it do damage, you can obviously track that creature if you're on the same plane of existence as it. Yeah, brilliant. But yeah, so that's a massive change.
Really good, and that's just what it should be. And like, I'm totally happily for people to flavor that however they want. I also like the whole, like, the one that we talked about it having planes of existence or having these sort of benefits for being a ranger that focuses on certain, not just like dragons, but like the area that you're in. But actually, I think what this does is it shows that you become like, in combat, it creates a good dynamic for like the rogue, and depending on what rogue you choose, becomes a very like adaptable a being in the party that can flip from enemy to enemy in a melee way, which is their benefit. Like, they can disengage and they can be really tactile in a combat in a melee sense, which is very difficult, whilst tanks generally either become adaptable by the fact that they can take an attack of opportunity because they're tanks. Do you know what I mean? Like, a barbarian knows that they can just leave someone's area of effect, because who gives a crap if they get hit by? Do you know what I mean? Oh no, I'm going to take some damage. But the rogue's very versatile in that sense, and tanks don't move as much because they can just sit there and take damage from the big enemy. You know, they go and sit in the front, take the melee damage, and just whack away. And what this does is it gives the rangers a different sort of ability, which is like, they can focus on someone, which doesn't necessarily need to be the main enemy type. Doesn't have to be, if you're in a dragon, you've got some kobolds and a mage or something like that. They could be like your secondary character. Like, everyone, like the tanks can be focusing on the heavy hitter, whilst the ranger could be focusing on the range attack on another enemy. So like, if you did have a mage and a dragon, they can be focusing on the dragon, whilst the tanks can be going to the mage or something like that. But it gives them a different combative. Right. What I'm just saying is it gives versatility to the character,
which is what you need,
which is what you want.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we want from all of this.
Because you want classes to feel different, and this gives the difference, which is what I think Ranger always felt like a bastardization of 2, which was Druid and Rogue, and actually this is more what it should be.
This puts it together a little bit better. So level 3, you get the subclass. That's where it begins. We'll come on to that in a second. Then feat, and then 5th level, extra attack.
Now, is that what you used to get extra attack on? I forget.
I don't think so.
I think it was later, and I think we said it should be earlier.
Behind the scenes, folks, we actually don't have anything open.
I'm opening it now. I'm doing it.
You're blowing dust off D&D Beyond.
No, I'm just going to get D&D Beyond. Sorry. It was at 5th level, you got extra attack.
Fair enough. Then you get something called roving at 7th level. Your speed increases by 10 when you're not wearing heavy armor. Very good. You also have a climb speed and a swim speed.
Oh, thank goodness. Jesus Christ. Of all the people that should have them, technically you should have it at 1st level, but I'll let them get away with it. I think, yes, of course they should. They're rangers. They're in the wild. Why didn't we even think of this before? It's a good thing. They used to have at 8th stride, which was land stride, which was the difficult terrain thing and the advantage on saving throws against plants that are magically created or manipulated to impede movement.
Oh no, not plants.
Like entangle. So it's like you have advantage on saving throws against plant. Oh, sorry. So I'm just glad they got rid of that. Land stripes is like crap. Sorry. Just should be you just can't be affected. You just have freedom of movement what you should
Maybe they had a plan to have like an adventure which was purely like plant-based.
It was really useful when I played Son of the Sister, because they have all those blights that you're fighting against, and there's a druid, and it was actually kind of useful then, but...
Yeah, maybe there's more plant encounters in previous editions of D&D, and then 5th edition comes along and go, we want... we don't give a shit about plants. We want beasts and monsters.
Yeah.
I don't know. 8th level, another feat. Excellent.
Yeah.
9th, expertise again.
Which again is really good for rangers, because something they were missing that was great from rogues that they needed in rangers, give them more proficiencies and things. Right. They should be proficient. They are. I am loving the expertness of this.
And that it does shine through now. I definitely, now they've put it in like this and like said, these are expert classes. I'm like, this makes sense. And then level 11, we have Tireless. Prime Altars help fuel you on your journeys, granting you the following benefits.
We mentioned this in our one, similar thing.
Yeah, I was quite surprised when reading this through. I was like, this feels something that Hamilton has said, and I've gone, that sounds good, but they'll never do it. And now I'm like, well, I'll eat my own D&D hat.
They've actually done it.
So you get temporary hit points, so whenever you finish a short or long rest, you can give yourself a number of temporary hit points equal to 1d8 plus 2 proficiency bonus.
Right.
That's nice. Quite like that. I think that's, again, quite flavoursome.
Gives them a bit more of a tanky, because they are mini tanks. They should be mini tanks, little ATVs.
Again, flavoursome-wise, it kind of makes sense. I'm like, okay, we're having a rest, okay, give myself up. We're on the run. We're going through these things. I need to know what we're doing, etc. I think I quite like that.
But it's that when I wrote it, when I was making my alternate ranger that I never got out there, the reason I came up with this because you have a task, you have a quarry, you are tirelessly determined to. You're a predator. You are a human predator or a character predator that should be able to, keep on sort of moving and going until you can catch your quarry or foe, sort of thing. It's kind of how I read it. And it also came from the Drizzt novels, because he does that a little bit as well. He is an elf, so it's slightly different. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I did caveat it that when you then find the quarry, you then should have like a period of like rest, but that's too complicated for this.
I guess it's a bit like haste, isn't it? Like you're doing everything, and once the spell ends or it's ended early, you are exhausted for the next round.
That's exactly what it was like. Yeah.
The other part of this tireless ability is that it decreases exhaustion. So when you're exhausted, when you finish a short rest, your level of exhaustion decreases by 1, compared to a long rest, which would then do that. For if you were like a normal player.
I think that's great.
Moving on, then we've got obviously another feat at level 12, and then level 13, Nature's Veil.
So much better than Hide in Plain Sight.
This sounds like another Hamilton special. I definitely remember you talking about invisibility, and because I think this particular feature was much later on in the original class.
No, you used to get Hide and Plain Sight at 10th level.
Oh, you did.
So this is earlier. And then you got Vanish at 14th level. So you use a hide action as a bonus action. You can't be tracked by non-magical means unless you choose to leave a trail.
But they couldn't go invisible.
You weren't invisible. You could just use the hide action. So this sort of mixed, because the Hide and Plain Sight was, you spend 1 minute creating camouflage for yourself, and you must have access to fresh mud, dirt, plants, soot, and other naturally occurring materials.
I think you'll find you have to be lying down or standing next to a wall.
Once you're a Caroline, you could try to hide by pressing yourself up a solid surface, such as a tree or wall. Yeah. At least as tall as you are. Plus 10 bonus to dexterity. It was just like, oh my gosh. Whilst this is just like, you go invisible as a bonus action.
Again, forgive me, I don't remember I believe it's a Japanese artist, but he used to paint himself so he would fit into stuff. That's how I imagine it would oh no, you've only painted yourself half the walls. So...
You are an esoteric Japanese Instagram artist is one, or you're a magical being in a D&D game. And the thing is, we're playing a magical D&D game, not an esoteric Japanese artist on Instagram game. Which... Please, someone make esoteric Japanese artist RPG, because I will play it.
We will play that. Yeah. I will find whoever that is, and I'll put their work in the show notes, because it is absolutely incredible.
It is really good,
But for Nature's Veil, as a bonus action, you can expend one of your spell slots and become invisible to the end of your next turn. So that's quite a cool, like, in combat sort of thing, if you're trying to get away, or if you're trying to get into a better position to shoot and get through some things. It depends on how many spell slots you have, I think, because it doesn't limit what level it is. So I guess you could start off small, like level 1s and stuff.
Cantrip.
Sadly, unfortunately not, because otherwise that'd be a big shame.
But you're not using them for anything else anyway, so you might as well use them for something.
Yeah, especially if you've got a Hunter's Mark, it doesn't count towards your spells. But it does.
I mean, you're curing people, maybe, but
no, you've got the Bard to do that now. Bard's doing it all the time.
Bard's doing it.
14th level, another subclass feature. 15th level, Virile Senses. Your connection to the forces of nature grants you Blind Sight,
which used to get 18th level, which was ridiculous, like high for just Blind Sight. I think it should be lower, which is what it is. And Foe Slayer at 18th level.
Extra damage now for your Hunter's Mark. It's now a D10.
That was your 20th level. And that before, it used to be you can add your wisdom modifier to the attack roll or the damage roll.
It was rubbish, yeah.
Which could be like +1. Oh, I've added a 1 to my roll. Whilst now you can add an extra D10.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Well, no, so it's an extra D10 instead of a 1D6. So it's 4 extra points rather than 1. I still think It's not good enough. It should be you add an extra d10. It should be 2d6 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, or get a d12 back out. I know that doesn't make any difference really statistically wise, but
no.
big dice numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Go into the esoteric dice values of like a 1d16 or something. Like
yeah.
And then obviously another feat at level 19. So again, up to I think it's up to 6 feats again for the range and stuff. And then level 20 Epic Boon. You gain the Epic Boon of Fortitude.
Now this Epic Boon is actually, when you compare this to the Luck Epic Boon, you're just like, what? This versus 1 chance at luck, or your hit point maximum increases by 40? That is not balanced. Sorry.
In addition, whenever you regain hit points, you regain additional hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. You regain these additional hit points no more than once per round.
That's so luck, 1 luck chance per day, or 40 hit points,
and then always regaining a lot more health.
You will gain more health. I'm like, I'll take the luck. No, I won't take the luck, because luck is going to give me one ability to make 1 attack, which will be a positive of whatever my attack roll is, or 40 extra bonus points if someone hits me. Versus 1 save of a potentially, I got a D8. I saved a D8 against me.
This boon is going to be taken by all the other classes. I'm thinking warlocks. I'm thinking any wizard class. Yeah, why wouldn't you?
40 points. That's
amazing.
Bananas. Whilst Boon of Recovery, you can use a bonus action to regain a number of hit points equal to half your hit point maximum. Once you use benefit, you can't use it. Again, that is like, you can use a bonus action once per day to just go half my hit points.
And then the second part of that is, in addition, you succeed on every saving throw that isn't a 1.
Exactly.
So 2 to 20, you're fine.
Yeah, you've got a 1 in 19. You're basically. So that, or 1 roll of a die gets 3 rolls.
Yeah, that Epic Boon of Fortitude and Recovery. Obviously, I know you can't take them both, but like, holy shit, why wouldn't you take one of those two?
But then Epic Boon appear the same as, if you make a ranged attack and it misses, you can choose it to hit once every roll of initiative. You can have 1 thing that hits, or 40 hit points. I'm sorry. That is just bananas. There's no better word for it than bananas.
I love it. I think that's awesome. Moving on then to the Ranger subclass, so Hunter. So we didn't have too much of a problem with this in the original one. The only thing I remember us saying about it is that most of the Hunter stuff should be in the main Ranger class, because the Ranger class at that time felt incomplete without having a subclass to it.
Get rid of all the spellcasting and just add this in.
And this is all basically the same, really. So so we've got Hunter's Prey at level 3, where you just get extra damage if it's missing any hit points. So it's a bit like a Giant Slayer, essentially. So that's pretty good. Hunter's Lore at level 6.
That's new.
That is new, yeah. So when your creature is marked by your Hunter's Mark, you know whether that creature has any immunities, resistance, and vulnerabilities. And if that creature has any, you know what they are. None of this, the DM decides what you know. You just know.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good for a level 6 one.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
I quite like that. And it makes sense as well. Like, it adds to the favored enemy stuff. Like, again, it all ties into that Hunter's Mark and that what you were saying before about studying the creature and learning its ways and stuff like that. And it's that particular creature and not generalizing a whole race or group of monsters, which is always really good. Level 10 is multi-attack. Now you can conjure Barrage. That is always prepared. And here's I didn't know, I think this is the first time I've ever seen it, that you can cast a spell at a lower level than it's usually set at. So you can also cast a spell with level 1 and 2 spell slots, but you reduce the damage by 1d8 per spell slot under.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I've never seen that before. I wonder if they'll do that for other spells.
I'm not as big a fan of the Conjure Barrage using of a spell slot. I feel it's like, we've got spells, we better do something with them. Again, I have a bit of a broken record on this, but I did prefer the choice of Volley and Whirlwind, where I love the Whirlwind, which is use your action to make a melee attack against any number of creatures within 5 feet of you with a separate attack roll for each target. I think is a great version, much more exciting than Conjure Barrage. Or Volley, which you can use your action to make range attacks against any number of creatures within 10 feet of a point you can see. That felt so, those 2 attacks felt so super cool Legolas moves.
I was just about to say Legolas moves, right?
Which I don't think Conjure Barrage is as good.
No.
Personally.
But again, it feels like maybe they're streamlining it. So it's like, it's this rather than this, or this.
Well, I'd rather they just chose both of those. You just get both, or just one of them. As in,
level
you
10,
can, or any attack you make against any creature, ranged or melee, anything within 5 feet of that point of target, you can attack anything like that. I guess, like, as in within your, if it's melee, anything within 5 feet of you, or 5 feet within the attack range, and then that's easily done. Because I think that's the thing, they should be able to attack multiple things. They should be able to shoot 15 arrows in like one turn, or whirlwind. Like,
they should be better. They didn't get, this is not the world they deserve.
No, exactly. Not like this. Not like this.
And then finally at level 14, you get Superior Hunter's Defense.
Yeah.
When you are hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to halve the damage against yourself and then redirect the other half the damage to one creature that you can see within 5 feet of yourself.
It's much better. And it's like, because before you could choose either evasion or uncanny dodge, this is both.
Both. Yeah.
Anything. Great. Perfect.
And it's all about that reaction stuff, because that's what I remember you saying about before.
Yeah, the one thing they should be doing is reactions more, and they haven't done enough of them.
That's what I was going to say.
And they did do more in the Tasha's thing, but I think reactions are the realm that rangers should be in. That's the difference you could give them, which is that is something that they should be a reactive class because of their... Well, they should be able to react better.
Or even, like, as we discussed a little earlier with the Bard, having stuff that's on an initiative.
Yeah.
That they get, like, maybe they get advantage on initiative because they're so quick. And they probably have a really high dex anyway.
Yeah.
But, like, for example, Barbarians get an advantage on initiative just now.
Yeah. I think they should have that as a standard. Like, yeah, you get an advantage on initiative, or you can get surprise attacks, or you have, I don't know, there's so much more hunter-based things they could be doing, which is like if you... But they haven't.
I think it's better. I do think it's better.
It's definitely better than the base class. I don't think it's better than the Tasha change, technically.
No, we'll see. I guess we'll see. Because again, I did quite like the previous Hunter one, but this one, I quite like that last one, the Superior Hunter's Defense. So who knows in the end. Last, but by no means least, we're coming on to...
The best class ever.
Yes, best class. We're coming on to the Rogue. Yeah. So yes, primary ability is Dexterity. And again, another very nice little summary of what a Rogue is, I thought. I'm going to just pass it over to you straight away. Thoughts?
Thoughts. I mean, they haven't changed it a lot. You know, they haven't changed it a lot, which is good, because why fix anything that ain't broken?
Fix perfection.
Exactly. Well, it's true, and actually the only thing that they've done in it is probably, you know, didn't really need changing. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, so hit points, again, 1d8 makes sense. Proficiency is pretty much the same, like armor training, starting equipment, burglar's pack, all that sort of thing. I think there's definitely an emphasis on, like, because I think the subclass is a thief. They're like, not all rogues are thieves, but they might be vigilantes and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, we get it. I know you're trying to take away from that. Let's go on to the class features then. So level 1 is surprise. It's expertise. I had to go back and through all my free notes going, I think they're all expertise. Experts at level 1.
Exactly.
And then sneak attack. Now, here's the thing. I thought they had changed sneak attack because I thought it was but it's really badly worded. I think that's what it is.
My theory is that what they've done, and by reading around on this topic, the thing that's changed, they haven't undone what they did in the last one, which was in the character creation Origins one, which they mentioned that a critical hits used to work, that dice would no longer double on a critical hit, but suppose these have been unmade in this one, so that is fine. But what they have changed is it used to say you can use a sneak attack once per turn. Right? So that means if you use sneak attack on your turn, you get an opportunity attack on a different turn. You know, you could use it again. However, it states it has to be an attack action in your turn. So it means if someone's got an opportunity attack, is that sneak attack? Because that's a reaction attack. I still think it's the same.
Yeah.
But I read that on another piece of media, on The Gamer, I think it was. I read that, and I was like, maybe that's different, because one could argue, but you do take an attack when it's a opportunity attack.
I guess because on this, what it says in this playtest, it says on each of your turns, and technically your reaction is outside of your turn. It's in the round.
Well, it was always each of your turns, but it was like if you don't get your sneak attack on your main attack, but you do get it on your opportunity attack, is that an attack? The opportunity attack, or is that not your, because that's not your attack action, it's not an action, it's your attack reaction. So that's the clarification, is that they've said attack action, not on an attack.
Right. Okay, yes.
Do you see what I mean? Not an
I
opportunity attack reaction. That's the very minor change of the wording. But because you might not have an ally adjacent when they move out of range. Do you see what I mean? For example.
The big change then for me, I would say, is that I thought they changed how much sneak attack you get. Because it says in the thing, it says, to determine the extra damage, roll a number of d6s equal to half your rogue level, round up, and add the dice together.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, does that mean we have very low sneak attack? But then I checked the table in the original one,
and it's
the exact same table.
Yeah, it's just that they've given you the actual physical
reasoning behind it. But I was like, I don't need the reason. Well, you've given me the table.
Yeah.
Why would I? So I was so confused. I thought,
I thought that as well, and I was like,
have they nuked?
Wait, that is how they've done it. They've just never told you that that's the maths.
Yeah. So I got very confused for like 10 minutes, going, have I been doing rogue? Have we did rogues wrong?
Exactly.
So the damage is exactly the same. The reasoning is just rubbish. Just ignore it. Just use the table. Like, they've got the table. Don't worry about it. They've worked it out for you. Still on first level, you get Thieves' Cant. You get Thieves' Cant and another language of your choice, which you can use from. You can go from the standards or rare tables for the languages.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that change, but we'll come to that.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about it more. I'm not. I think they're just categorizing everything a lot, but whatever.
And then going on to level 2, we have Cunning Action.
Best thing ever in the world.
It is so good, and I think it's still at second level in the original one as well. But on your turn, you can take one of the following actions as a bonus action: so dash, disengage, and hide. Perfect. No need to change that. Third level subclass comes in. Fourth level feat. 5 uncanny dodge, not been changed.
Expertise at 6 because they used to always get expertise. Oh, they don't. It's at 7th now because you get.
It's at 7, so yes, the subclass has moved up.
Oh, they've flipped that round, haven't they?
And level 8 is a feat. Level 9, evasion.
Oh, evasion used to get a 7th. It was good. Yes, I mean, you should have that early.
So they're pushing these out a little bit more.
Because they should be mage slayers. But
here's the thing, though, Hamilton. At level 10, they get 2 things. They not only get a feat, they also get a subclass feat. That's the only one out of these 3 that does that has a double up at that. And I was like, wait a minute. So I did the maths, which I know was very quick. They get 7 feats in total, including their first level one.
I would agree, but I'd rather... Yeah, I know, yeah.
I mean, I was like, that's for me. Whenever you take a feat and a subclass thing, or whenever you do one of those things, cool. You're like, okay, I'm going to remember that. I know before I'm like, I'm all about those sort of things, but to have them together, you're like, oh god, I need to remember I've got 2 new things, 2 nice new things to use at level 10.
Yeah.
At level 11, we have reliable talent, which again,
same as it was before.
So you treat a d20 of a roll of a 9 or lower as a 10. Great. Then you get another feat at level 12, level 13.
This is when it changes.
Yes, subtle strikes. You have advantage on any attack roll that targets a creature within 5 feet of at least one of your allies who isn't incapacitated.
See, I'm not going to lie. I thought they had that.
I mean, maybe it's outlined slightly, perhaps. I don't know.
Well, because they get sneak attack when they attack someone within 5 feet. But I also thought flanking rules is what I used to always take, so that if they're in melee range and someone is also in 5 feet, and flanking, I would say once you're out of like 30 to 60 degrees, you're in that 60 to 120 degree of the other character that they're in melee range with, then you get an advantage.
Right.
So it doesn't really affect me. It hasn't changed the way I play it so much, and I think blind sense is better.
Yes.
You are able to hear, you are aware of the location of any hidden or invisible object, creatures within 100 feet of you. And I just think, because they're so sneaky, they should be aware of when people are being sneaky. And they
should have a hitman sense,
Yeah, and that's so... I think this is good. The thing for me is like, I was playing that anyway for rogues, but great. Yeah. A missed blind sense, but that's fine.
Level 14 subclass feature. Yeah. Level 15 slippery mind, which was in the previous one. You get proficiency in wisdom and charisma saving throws. Level 16 feat. Level 17 elusive.
Great.
No attack roll has advantage against you.
Same as before. Amazing. So good.
And hey, they've moved that level 20 down to 18 here. So stroke of luck. You have the uncanny knack for succeeding when you need to. If you fail a d20 test, you turn that roll into a 20. You can use this feature once per short and long rest.
It's actually better than an Epic Boon, and it's an 18th level. Wizards, come on. Go read your spell books. Get it right.
Mate. What are you doing? Yeah, after 19th level feat, you get Epic Boon. You can gain the Epic Boon of Undetectability, which is you cannot be seen or heard by any means, magical or non-magical, whilst you are hidden.
Yeah.
So you've been glitched from
the Matrix,
the Minecraft space.
Yeah.
You're outside the map briefly.
No, it's amazing. You're invisible when you're hidden, but more than magically invisible. Like they cannot have. Does that even means if they have dragon sense, they cannot see you?
Right, I assume so.
That is. We need a thief. We need a burglar. We need a burglar.
Well, with the book, with the big anthology of heists coming out, I can see everyone going, right, I know what I'm going to play. Group full of rogues, level 20, let's go.
Who's going to play a heist game? You know what I'm going to play? I'm going to play a warlock. Sorry.
How do you do that? Uncanny impression of me.
I think what would be really fun is to take the heist book and then do each heist with all one class things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And don't do the rogue. Just don't do rogue and just have every other all class. Call it Leave the Rogue at Home.
There you go, classic. Right, get that trademark. Put that in.
TM.
Going on then to the final subclass of this playtest, we have Thief.
Yeah.
Again, I think fairly similar from what I remember, but I'm sure you'll tell me.
I'm just scrolling down again just to remind myself.
Scroll.
So
So this obviously you hone your larcenous arts. Burglars, bandits, cut purses, and other criminals typically adopt subclass, but also do rogues who prefer to think themselves as treasure seekers, explorers, delvers, and investigators. Ah, yes, the Tomb Raiders of the
Lara Crofts of this world.
So that's what you want to be. I'm playing Lara Croft, the thief. I mean Tomb Raider. Third level, you have Fast Hands, which I think is in the previous one. Mm-hmm. You have additional options for bonus action, cunning action, which you can do the following. Search. You can take the search action.
Yeah, so that wasn't there before the search action. That's a new action.
I guess maybe they're going to be... Maybe from this... Maybe they're going to do more in terms of investigation checks that you can do them in combat as a bonus action or something like that, or like it's going to take you a full action, because that's one thing we play as a home rule is that if we're in the middle of a fight and we want to spot, I don't know, the button that will release the trap door that we've been told about, we could either do it as an action, a perception check, or as a bonus action with a disadvantage, because obviously it's we're looking around quickly.
The Mastermind or the Inquisitor got that as a bonus action, which was the ability to make investigation or perception checks as a bonus action, which we thought as a combat thing wasn't necessarily amazing, but it can be useful when you're in a combat which has traps or things like you need to disarm whilst, like other things to deal with.
I wonder then, maybe because obviously more and more of our streaming with combat, it is changing. It's becoming more organic. Like I might not want to be just lots and lots of fighting. I might want to find bits in the environment. So maybe it's trying to account for we're going to be producing adventures where there might not be as much combat fighty stuff, but there might be a combat where you're going to have to, I don't know, it's a chase scene.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So you're having to have the initiative and you're going to have to do certain things. So you need to have those.
I did one on stream, which was like they had, and I did it, which was like there was electric pylons going off, and like you need to disarm the pylons because they were like Tesla coils that would like shock everyone because they were going a bit random. And because there were 4, when 4 were attacking you, they did like 4d10. But then when you disarm one, it went down to 3d10. And then so like by someone spending the effort to disarm them, it was useful. So that's sort of like environmental effects, isn't it? Sort of thing.
So they tried to make it a little bit more amenable rather than like you're stealing. It's like no, you're also searching. Third level again, second story work. I think this was the same from before. You gain a climbing speed equal to your normal speed and also a jump distance. You can make a dexterity check instead of a strength check to use your jump.
Yeah, so I think they didn't have climbing speeds before, but they used to just say that you just no longer cost you extra movement. So that was just the difference. But does the strength check make your jump distance?
I think it works out the length of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it used to be a strength modifier determine the length. This just means you make a dexterity check to see if you make the jump action. So maybe they're changing the way you jump, because before it just used to be you jump the distance of your strength modifier, but then it was change it to the number of feet equal to a dex modifier. But now they're saying make a jump and make a check.
Action,
so they've obviously changed the way you do that.
Yeah, work it out perhaps,
That's all. Supreme Sneak.
That's what they call me. Hello. You have advantage on every dexterity check, stealth. You may, provided you aren't wearing medium or heavy armor. I assume you would already have that, possibly.
Yeah, before it used to be if you move no more than half your speed in the same turn.
There you go.
So I think, yeah,
they've improved it a little bit. Yeah,
you might be wearing medium armor, but yeah, because heavy armor is the only thing that gives you disadvantage.
That's true. Penultimately, you have at level 10, use magical device. In your treasure hunting, I'm using quotations there, you've learned to maximize the use of magic items, granting you the following benefits. You can now attune up to 4 magical items at once. Nice. Always good. More magical items. Whenever you use a magical item, a property that expends charges, you've rolled a d6. On a 6, you don't expend that charge. Cool. I would be cheeky and say 4, 5, and 6. Just because otherwise it's like, how often are you going to roll that and remember? I'd rather make it a good chance thing if you're an expert at it. Scrolls, you can use any scroll that bears a cantrip or 1-level spell. Nice. You can use any scroll that contains a higher level spell, but you must succeed on an intelligence check. Arcana DC equal to 10 plus the spell's level. Which is pretty good.
I think that's really cool. I think that's more interesting than the original, which was that you can just improvise the use of items, which is the old school way of all class, race, and level requirements on the use of magic items. But I think this is more adaptable.
If you're putting it into that flavor thing that you're a treasure seeker, it's because you've researched the item that you're going to take, and you'll be like, oh, okay, it's a magical item. I can work out how to do it, even if it's not meant for me.
Indiana Jones, Lara Croft, they all do that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally, 14th level, we've got Thieves' Reflexes. You can now take a second bonus action on your turn, providing it's a bonus action from Cunning Action. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you gain them all on a long rest.
Fucking amazing.
That is cool.
So much better than the 3. You're adept at laying ambush and you get 2 turns during your first round of combat, which was great.
Yeah.
But more bonus actions? More Cunning Action? Yeah, Wizards, you've redeemed yourself. Take a hamper from Fortnum & Masons. You deserve it.
You dash up your first bonus action. You dash your movement. You hit the person, and then you disengage. And
being able to disengage, then hide, is badass. Basically, because that's what I will do. I will be like, sneak, stab, disengage, hide.
Yeah. Boop, 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 boop.
And then stab. Disengage, hide, and you're invisible. No one can find you when you're hide.
Yeah, when you're at that level.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Disengage, run away, hide. No one sees you.
No one can track me. Who the fuck hit me? Why am I bleeding? Oh no.
Also, always to note that these are so much earlier because these are 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 14th when they were 3rd, 9th, 13th, and 17th. So these are early doors and. Being level 15 or 14 with the ability to have 2 bonus actions. God, let me at it.
So go on then. What's wrong with Thieves' Cant?
Nothing's wrong with Thieves' Cant, actually.
I thought you said there was a problem with it, with the languages.
Oh no, I don't think there's a problem. It's just that it's something that's changed. It was the standard languages and rare languages. That's what I was saying. My gripe is the inconsistency of theme, which is that seems to be coming up with this one D&D, which is like they're trying to simplify and streamline things at the same time they're adding more complexity in certain weird ways. And I understand because I think in we'll talk about it more in the character creation. Before it was like choose out as many languages as you like, but then it's like you can choose one standard language and then and certain people can only choose a certain rare languages. I can't remember the exact terminology off the top of my head.
The requirements of it.
Yeah, the requirements of it. And I felt that it's not necessary because it's the gamification of character creation that I think from someone who made a game show about character creation, I think that's a bit silly for me to even argue about. But what I mean is that there's thematic things that I think those things are just not. I think, do I need to know as a new player that Celestial is rarer than common? Well, it's in the title, but it, is Infernal. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Can I figure out that Dwarvish, Elvish, Common, I don't know what the other I can't Orcish language.
Orcish is the language.
Yeah, exactly. Those things are clearly more common than Celestial, Infernal, Deep Speech. Undercommon maybe is more common. It's kind of obvious. And is it necessary?
Yeah,
maybe. It's not a big gripe. I overplayed it.
Again, it's that sort of thing where you talk to your player and you'd be like, "Here's a range of languages," and you'd be like, "Oh, I want to learn these ones." And you're like, "Okay. Why do you know these ones?" Having that conversation rather than
this is a rare language. Are you sure?
Is there a story element for it?
That's it, exactly. I think you don't need to gamify the character background thing. I think it's when it comes, I like making it stupid game shows where you roll for class and race and it's all random. But really, when you're making a character, that is the bit in video games where you choose everything. Do you know what I mean? You appoint your stats in video games for a reason. You could do those video games. You don't need to do it in games, in RPGs either. I think you can make it if you want to, but I think the whole point is like having the freedom of choice, and I don't think you need to signpost it. No, that was all.
I agree.
Oh, I want to say one point on that language thing. What if you're playing a game that's set in the Nine Hells? Infernal isn't a rare language.
It's regional, right? So so you could say here's a list of all the languages, depending on where you are, and maybe then every single adventure should come up with like this is the Forgotten Realms, and this is the makeup of the population, as we do with the cities, right? So,
which is what I think when we come to talk about character origins, one of my key problems with the whole fundamental thing is that they treat it like the Forgotten Realms, that the lore and everything is set as foot, and they don't mention that at all, which is what's weird about it, because the player's handbook should be, in theory, it should be setting neutral.
Yeah, it shouldn't have any setting,
unless it's a Forgotten Realms primer, which it's not. And that's where they fall down, I think, on a lot of the character options.
I think that's a very good point, because the only thing I was going to quickly add on that, because you've reminded me, so Radiant Citadel, in their for each of their different sort of planes and stuff like that, most of them will say the common, in quotation mark, language is this, and it will give a name to the language that's used, because obviously there'll be different languages for different planes and stuff, because that's what the writers wanted to do. They wanted to represent their cultures and represent their heritage, which of course is a number of languages that aren't necessarily English, and I quite like that. Again, I'm going to talk about Radiant Citadel till the cows come home, but the each of the gazettes, they are so beautiful and vibrant, and it tells so much about them. Instantly you want to go and explore more of these things, so it's very hard to be like, oh, you know these languages and gamify it like that. So I totally see you like that. It should be, here's the list of languages, and depending on which region your game is set, and that's up to the DM to tell you what maybe are the common language. But if you want to go for some rare ones, that's great. Let's talk about it to your DM, see what you can come up with and why you would know these things. Is it a part of your heritage? Is it that you have learnt these things because you are a scholar and you're going out and learning these things? It is your passion or something like that. Or you've had to learn it for your job in some way. They should be at the forefront of the mind rather than like a gamification of that.
That's it.
Wow, Hamilton, we've gone through all three of these classes. Like, I think overall, like,
it's a quick ride.
A quick ride, just a mere 2 and a bit hours, no biggie. But no, I think I'm glad we've taken the time to go over this, because I do think I think they really can shape your experience of D&D. I would say possibly more so than lineages, perhaps. But again, I know we'll talk about lineages there. But I just like, because you can do so much with classes and stuff.
Well, they should do. That's the thing they should do. Like, the game is about doing a job.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Really? Like,
you're sorting out a problem.
Your character creation is about setting yourself up to perform a task.
Yeah.
Generally. And so your class should, in theory, as well as your like the things that you choose about your character should make those decisions, but your class should affect it. And I think that's why it's very important.
It is very important. And I'm hoping that people will look at these now and be like, I want to play these things. I think the Ranger comes out of this incredibly well. And I think the additions, I know like certain bits like the Bard and the Rogue, there are certain bits where you're like, maybe not so sure, but some of it you're like, oh, this could be quite work. So maybe a little bit more work on them perhaps, or maybe revising and going back to another one.
I think the Rogue's got some really cool things that have changed in a positive way. The 2 extra bonus point actions and the moving of everything lower for the class abilities, the subclass abilities, really good. I think the loss of blind sense is a bit of a shame, but I think everything else is great. Yeah. And I think the Epic Boons, if you choose the right one, are really good.
If you choose the right one, wink, wink.
Wink, wink, yeah.
These 2.
Exactly, the 2 that are really good.
Like I said, we will look at the feats in general, because there's 50 of them in this playtest, and I know there's some revised ones from the first one as well, and the spell list in general. Maybe have a chat about that at some point. Until then, Hamilton, where can we find you? What work are you on when you're not on the DM's book club?
Well, the one thing you can find me doing with Fiona is the DM's travel book club, which we're really rocketing through at the moment. We're at Mechanis, I think it's come out.
Mechanis, at the time of recording, Mechanis has just come out, so we're halfway through.
Yeah, halfway through the planes, which is quite weird. It's weird because we started that probably a year ago now.
It was all this year, wasn't it?
It's all this year, but it's been nearly a year.
Okay,
of doing
I was going to say, did we start it last year? Because I suddenly felt very old.
Yeah. No, I think, but it's been 11 months in the making, and
I've moved house.
You've moved house. Yeah. And you're now in a third house.
I'm now in a third house whilst recording this, so yes. Yeah. Howat the houses, they call me.
That's what they say. FH, full of houses.
Full of houses.
Full house. There you go. Full House Howat.
That's
Fiona Full House Howat.
Perfect. I'll put that on the back of a t-shirt. There you go.
You should do. What comes after Mechanis is Mount Celestia.
Oh God! No. More Planes of Lore.
More Planes of Lore.
And then the Planes of Conflict come up.
There's the Planes of Conflict, which are really fun. And so much fun. As of recording, we have recorded Elysium, so we have got one more left to do before I think we're going to have to not end on the Grey Waste, but end on Sigil.
Yes, I think we were like, hooray, it's all nice things. And I'm like, oh no, the Grey Waste.
Yes. And then Bowie's is 8 episodes recorded. I can't tell you how good there was. We had, as I said, Kim Richards from High Rollers on, spoiler alert, playing Ziggy Stardust, and there was this moment. They came in, and it has been great, but it was literally the sort of what I was hoping for from Ziggy to be this sort of like fly in the ointment, sort of like chaos injection, like change of like pace, and the thing that's always been in the back of the mind. They turn up and did everything. They just kind of went in, spinned all the plates, and then have left. And yeah, that was really amazing. I'm so excited to show.
I can't wait.
Obviously I knew they were amazing,
yes.
But it was an absolute pleasure to watch. I had those DM moments, which I've had a lot actually in this campaign because they are really great people, all of them. Taylor, Chloe, Jeremy, and obviously Kim. They allow me to sit there for 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just watch them and then just go, do you know, like I put my hand to my mouth and go, oh, like that sort of thing for the people at home.
It's like having your own little theatre play happening for you.
I can't wait to share it with everyone.
I know.
It's going to take time. It's going to take time because there's a lot of editing to do, and I want it to be as good as it can be. And it's just going to be. It's going to be when it will be, probably in the new year at this rate, but. When it's there, it's there.
Well, following up from that, though, if you can't wait, I hear a little mini show called Theatre Macabre.
Well, exactly, yes.
Is out. All of it.
Yeah, that's out. All of it is out now. Yes. Oh, geez, I forgot about that.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Morkborg narrative play. It was been really great. That was an equally similar experience of like me being able to shut up. But they are short 1 hour episodes, 1 hour 10, I think is the longest. Only 5 episodes. We definitely have to do another one. It leads into a nice little story. It's a very simple 5 hours that you can spend over 5 nights that you can just watch. It ties itself up to a point, but obviously there's a little thing that leads you if we want to do another one. And I think the characters were great. Everyone got dressed up. It was very performative. The
artwork is incredible.
There was a lot of artwork, a lot of effects. We had a lot of fun. Everyone should watch it, not just because I'm in it. Watch it for all the other people.
I know, and I second that. I mean, Hamilton's also amazing in it as well.
Fiona, I haven't done this in a while.
Yeah.
So, how are you? What are you? Where are you? When are you? Where?
How am I?
I said that wrong.
You did, but it's fine. I'm okay. It's a little bit chilly in Iowa, but it's fine. Who am I? I am a podcaster and an improviser, and I am doing other things as well, I'm sure. I'll be doing more VR improv in the new year, which I'm very excited for. Yes, so that'll be fun. Where am I? Well, currently in Iowa. When am I? It's in November. Where? I'm so glad you asked. Hey!
We got there.
So where is What Am I Rolling? A twice monthly RPG one-shot podcast. As always, going very well. Hamilton, guess what? Paranoia is finally out.
You've been talking about it since bloody March or something like that.
I know. It's finally out, and I'm actually very pleased with it because as I was telling Hamilton off podcast, I was like, I've worked out how to do a robot voice which doesn't involve any sound effects. It's just merely replicating my voice 3 times and then moving it slightly out of sync, and it's really good. I was very pleased with myself, and it comes out very well. Thank you very much.
It's a clap.
Clap, clap, clap. Hopefully, though, so basically, the new edition of Paranoia, which is not the one we played, annoyingly, but the new edition, the Perfect Edition, is coming out. Hopefully, getting an interview with them, the game designer behind that, so that'll be fun.
Cool.
Finally had the interview with the Alien writer, Andrew E. Gaska, which was a really fun interview. We had to reschedule it several times due to COVID and him going to lots of cons, because it turns out he's a very big, important person, and I didn't realise that.
Classic Fiona.
Classic me, just turning up. Boop, boop, boop. Oh,
hello, you. Oh, what's up? You make games, amazing. Bye. And like, that was Grant Howat. Oh, good.
Great. What a nice guy. Who's that?
On that note, whilst I'm aware and talking about Grant Howat, I listened to your first episode again the other day because I fancied it.
No.
Yeah, because it came up because my podcast thing reset itself because I upgraded my phone, so it just went back to episode 1. I was like, I'll listen to Honey Heist again. That was a good episode.
No.
It was so funny. I just love. Yeah, it's good.
It was the first one I ever did, and you can tell how nervous I was because that was obviously with my partner and the 2 friends who I think there's the outtakes one that I did where they were like talking about their plans. I was like, do you want to put me in their plans? And they're like, no, we don't think so. And I was like, okay. No worries.
It's really good. No, it's really. I just love how it's hearing the sort of genesis of Fiona, because I listened to it ages ago and I haven't listened to it probably, I don't know, 18 months or longer than that, maybe. I can't remember. And so I was just like, and I just thought, I'm going to listen to this again. It was just like funny. Then now knowing you better. And listening to it was kind of
really?
funny. You've got red.
I have done red because it's very embarrassing.
It's not. It was really good. It was really good. It was just funny because I now know who all those people are, from like Sam, Ryan, and Jacob, and I now know that they're all your friends, not just
random fuckers,
not people. Like, so it's kind of funny.
So
it's
funny.
Like it's quite sweet.
It's
good though. It's a good start.
Thank you. That's very
and also really good because since reading Goldilocks to Rachel, I realised that it's such a problematic story that you're just like to Iona. Sorry, it's such a problematic story that you're just like, what is this?
Now the bears will get their revenge.
Yeah, they should do. They bloody well should do. I want her to play Iona to play Honey Heist when she's old enough to. So I'm just like, this will teach you what's wrong with the Goldilocks story.
With all the fairy tales, Well, the final thing I'm going to plug for myself before ending the episode.
Go, please. Yeah, please do.
I don't know when it's coming out, I will say this, but another Grant Howat thing that I've done recently, I ran Nice Marines for a upcoming channel, currently unnamed, but it's part of the Flickr Films group. Basically, my friend Christian, a little while ago, before the pandemic, I played in a production of Blood on the Clock Tower, which is obviously a big social deduction game, and he has started up his own channel, which is going to be a little bit RPG based. He's going to do like a whole mini-series on Fate Accelerated, which should be quite fun. We did a test one of that, but he asked me if I could run something just as a little check to see if things went well. I ran for them Nice Marines by Grant Howat, which is essentially a parody of 40k Space Marines who have been left on a planet they have just liberated, and unfortunately there's no backup, so they have to be diplomatic with the citizens. And as you can imagine, it's a really fun little system in the sense of like you succeed at all combat roles because you're a Space Marine, you're bred for this, but any non-combat roles you have to roll a dice value that you've assigned, so you can go all the way from a d6 all the way to a d20, and that's how confident you are. And I just love it how like a d6 is like you're cautious about stuff, so you're like, the sweet spot of getting a good dice roll is I think it's 5 and 6. If you roll a d20, it's like you are divinely ordained and confident you are, but that means you're more likely to succeed, but with dire collateral.
I love that, with catastrophic collateral.
It's honestly, it was one of the fun. Like it was so good because everyone got really into it, and there was some people I'd not played with before, ran stuff before, and we just did the whole thing. And so hopefully it's going to come out on their channel. So I'll definitely promote that when it comes out, and hopefully I'll be doing some more things with them in the new year.
I'm just reading about it. What don't you understand? You have never been able to understand one element of civilian culture, and it fascinates and perplexes you. Animals, cuisine, love, fashion, food, humour, lying, art, grav cars, sadness.
Yes, it's great. We had a couple of people who didn't know emotions or didn't understand emotions, so that was quite cool in terms of...
want to play this game.
It's so much fun. I've said this before, like Grant Howat stuff, if you want something quick and easy, or if you're not sure about DMing a bigger game like Dungeons & Dragons, I'm not sure, Grant Howat stuff, because you can easily do it in an hour. There's so little prep you have to do for it. It all relies on people just giving it a go. And like I said to the players for that show, I was like, if you're not sure, just go with your guts and just commit, and the bigger the better.
It's just that classic, you can just imagine it, because it'd be that sort of farcical, they're huge, hulking, superhuman beasts that do not understand the world citizens. And are trying to make it, it's okay, all right, citizens, I'm going to just move this building. Don't move the building! It just moves the building, and then people are in the building. Oh, whoops.
We were supposed to hold a parade for when the Superior came at the end of the solar week, and so they were like, one of them was like, we need to make sure we have a crowd, and I was like, you come stand here, and obviously they rolled for it, and they rolled incredibly well with dire consequences, so they were putting people in the ground,
physically in the ground,
physically, like obviously like crushing them, and so it's just like almost a horrible like human forest of dying like trees.
CW for all the danger, like collateral.
It definitely is very violent, and it doesn't have to be gory, but it's definitely like a lot of death. No. We had so many orphans by the end of it, so. But yeah, so those I will promote this when it come out. But finally, also, we have an offer code. So if you like the stuff we've talked about and you want to support your local gaming stores, I mean, do that. But we have an offer code for Third Space Gaming at your friendly local game store in Burnley. I have to say that now because I'm in Iowa just now, so I have to be like before the accent.
Super northern.
Who are? And so if you type in the offer code DMBC into checkout, you get 10% off your first order, whether that be terrain, whether that be minis. I'm sure Dragonlance, the pre-order for that might be there. I don't know, but who knows? Check in with Jono. I'm sure he will help you with whatever you need. So that's DNBC for 10% off your first order at checkout. do the hand gestures.
The hand gestures.
Do the hamster hands.
No one did that at MCM. No one came up to us and did the hand gestures.
I suspect we're not as popular.
No, I don't think we are.
Well, Hamilton, until next time, thank you everyone for listening, and we appreciate everyone coming in and listening to us. And until next time, see you all
on the flip side.
I was like, who's going to do it?
Take care. Bye.